Hi there, this is Steve Hackett. You're listening to Mystery Tour.
So, dear Steve, what shall the Italian audience expect from your shows?
Well, we do. There are two things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing 3 songs from the new album.
Yeah.
And I'm playing El Nino. I'm doing In the Skeleton Gallery and Behind the Smoke from the new album. And I'm doing many songs from the past. I'm doing one song from a dark town called Rise Again.
Mm-hmm.
I've never performed that live before this batch of touring. And many favourites that fans have asked for that they haven't heard for a while. But I'm also celebrating the 40th birthday of Wind and Wuthering. So I'm doing most of the songs on the album, plus Inside and Out, which was recorded at the same time, originally intended to be on the album. And to my mind, stronger than some of the things that ended up on the album, such as What Gorilla, and All in a Mouse's Night. So I think, this makes the album, it's closer to the spirit of the album as I saw it. So all of those things, I think, make it stronger. And the things that I've chosen, I think, are lyrically the best things on the album, on Wind and Wuthering. Things that had something to do with social comment and history, and many things that I've gone back to. In fact, in my recent writing, the writing that I'm doing has an idea of, with the new album, the idea of music that crosses borders and is about unity. See, with the new album, I have 20 people from all over the world. Israel, from Palestine, singing together, Iceland, Hungary, Sweden, United States, England, and Azerbaijan, and some things recorded in Sardinia with the Jarbi guys, with Gully Bream from Iceland, the drummer, and we have some Peruvian instruments as well as Indian instruments, and Turkish, Armenian. So it really has the album has a world music feel. So that's what I'm taking in front of people.
And talking about your last 2 albums, which are the main differences between Wolflight and the Night Siren, both musically and lyrically speaking?
I think that with Night Siren, there is a peace message. I think lyrically, the opening track is about refugees now, but also the refugee family that I came from 100 years ago, the immigrants. And I remember my great-grandmother, talking about women being dragged along by their hair in Poland. These people were escaping religious persecution. It's the same as leaving a war-torn region. And then with the last track, originally it was going to be west to east, and we had the idea of this, my wife and I, the idea of be at one, be at peace, shine a light from west to east. The world can turn for all our needs, but can't revolve for everyone's greed. It was a peace, very much a peace message, like a Christmas song in a way. First time I've ever done anything quite that overtly intended to be something more than music, but harmony in the wider sense of the word. You could say that there is a link with Wolflight in that I started to use quite a lot of world instruments. Once again, I mean, I was using instruments, even when I was with Genesis, I was using kalimba and psaltery and alto harp I didn't make a big deal of it at the time. In fact, I didn't want to be credited with that at the time. But I was starting to use things such as that, and rain stick and percussion instruments, and so really world music started for me then. And then I was, with Spectral Mornings, I was using koto, Chinese koto. So I'm continuing the spirit of that. I usually find people say, "Oh, you're copying Peter Gabriel doing this," but actually, I think I went total immersion in this even earlier, and working in South America, doing things with masses of drummers. Actually, I think I was doing that first of all, but people tend to forget, with all this kind of stuff. So I normally have to say that, this is what I'm doing. I loved what Pete did, opening up the world. It's so important, and we're living in troubled times. Very pleased with the results of the Dutch election. The fact that they haven't gone full extremist.
Yeah, very
that happened today. So this is good. We need to keep curbs on the idea of the right. And nationalism worries me greatly. So that concerns me as much as music. Music is an ambassador for peace, and musicians are musical migrants quite naturally. It's in the nature of what they do, that they use things from everywhere. So multicultural diversity is something that music already possesses all over the world. We don't do regional music. None of us really do exclusively regional music. I mean, even the Chinese I visited who've never heard of Genesis or Phil Collins, they listen to dance music. It's quite strange. They listen to the traditional stuff, but they listen to pop. But they're not really aware of who Elvis Presley is, or Bob Dylan, or any of these things. As I say, it's extraordinary to go to a land where they've never heard of Genesis or Phil Collins. So if I go and talk to people there, very often I'm the first Western person they've seen, and they wanted to take pictures just because you look different to them on the Great Wall of China. Amazing amount of Chinese nationals just wanted to take a picture, not because I was me, but because I look different. So you realize how remote some of these regions are. We think of China because it's always in the news, but I don't think we're in the news for them quite as much as they're in the news for us.
And this, that was the next question was your opinion on the Brexit issue and the multicultural approach to civil life, but it's quite clear, I think, from
yes,
the words.
I'm horrified at Brexit. It's the wrong decision, and we might be witnessing not just the breakup of England from Europe, we could be witnessing the breakup of the European Union itself. And also, I think that we could be witnessing the breakup of the United Kingdom, because Scotland wants to pull away and remain part of the European Union. And I think that British politicians are behaving, or rather English politicians are behaving very irresponsibly, and they are very, very blinkered right now, because the issues at stake are more than merely national interests. And we're talking about international things, we're talking about world peace, we're talking about the rise of extremism, the corruption of power, many issues which concern me greatly. I don't want extremists running the show, and I don't want extremists controlling the nuclear arsenals in the world. That isn't going to work, because unfortunately one has to be aware of the concept of consequences. So I just assume that most politicians are not chess players, or have any idea of cause and effect. In essence, I think you've got people who are children who are in charge of the potential destruction of the planet. I don't think I'm exaggerating here.
No,
I think this is it's horrifying what's happening in politics right now.
While talking about beautiful things, what can you tell us about the wonderful image on the cover of Night Siren?
It's a picture taken in Iceland of the Aurora Borealis.
Yeah.
And I was in Iceland myself playing some shows, and I've also been working with two groups of Icelandic people, both the band I was with out there, Toddmobile, who often work with orchestras, and also Gulli Bream, who is Icelandic, who now lives in Hungary, and I've recorded stuff for the Night Siren. He's on 2 tracks on drums, and I'm also there's an album's worth of stuff that we recorded in Sardinia, which was much more free stuff that I was doing with Jarby. And what I've heard of it, it sounds really, really good. I have to say, sounds absolutely beautiful. Very free, very much like melodic jazz.
Yeah.
But very interesting work. Very almost kind of ambient jazz, really. Very interesting. So I've been working at all ends of the spectrum, because in America we did all these shows, and then we ended up with a show with an orchestra in Buffalo. We worked with the Buffalo Philharmonic, and that was an amazing show. Of course, I've been working in Iceland with an orchestra and choir, doing Toddmobile stuff, and we were doing a show of things that combined an awful lot of different styles, but that was wonderful to be a guest with them. Iceland is a very interesting place. It's a very extremely cold, but with volcanoes and northern lights, very volatile weather. And the people are very creative, very clever, very passionate, and I think you will find you enjoy time if you've not been there. It's worth a visit.
Yeah, I think so, because it's so also isolated and on its own, something different.
Yes,
from...
yes, it is. I think many people spend a lot of time indoors because the weather is inhospitable. And it means they come up with very good work. They're very clever.
So, how would you describe the Genesis years to young people who know not that much about the progressive rock, golden years?
Yes,
and stuff?
I think that. I'm interested in the idea of music which is surprising. And I think in the early days, progressive music was surprising. But I feel the need to opt to be involved in music outside of what we think of as progressive, because many people think of progressive as a limitation. In other words, difficult music, difficult time signatures, overly long songs, all of that, all the negatives that are associated with it, because it doesn't turn on everybody. But I think... it's not so much the genre that you're working with, it's what you do with it that makes sense. You could dismiss pop and say it's just ephemeral, but then when you listen to the best of it, you realize it's hugely significant. So progressive with Genesis, when we were working together, we were unaware that what we were doing was going to be referred to after the event as progressive. We just felt that we were doing music that had the art of surprise, and we tried to make it as original as possible. But we allowed ourselves to be influenced by this kind of pan-genre approach. There was obviously a huge classical influence, some comedy, the influence of big band, and many things that were part of Genesis. So I would say it's music that is surprising. I think that's the best of Genesis work, is surprising.
Definitely. And like, have you been in touch recently with the other guys from Genesis?
I think the last guy I saw from Genesis was Peter Gabriel and Anthony Phillips.
Okay.
So I'm in touch with them, and I think we often there's a lot to talk about. There are things that concern us, but I think people are from different backgrounds and have different kind of emphasis with their lives. I hope to work with them in the future, but nobody really knows. It's not always easy to turn the clock back.
Okay. Yeah. So we know you love Italy. You have a lot of Italian friends. So
Yes.
we ask you for your usual final message and greeting and invitation to your gigs to the Italian fans.
Oh, sure. Of course, I'm hugely looking forward to coming back to Italy. It's always an extraordinary experience, very, very warm. Italy has been in the forefront of the acceptance of everything I was involved with Genesis, and long after. Such an extraordinary place. So I think my message is that I can't wait to be there. It's always absolutely thrilling, I think, for both of us, both audience and for me and the band and my wife and the team that we bring to Italy once again. It's been the mainstay of so much of everything I ever believed in, the celebration of the past, the present, and the future, all of that. So for me, it's hugely important, a very important music area, very accepting of all things from all the huge spectrum of music, electric, acoustic, classical, jazz, everything so wide open. It's really an extraordinary place.